Okay, today I'm super happy to present you the new Karpenter Autoscaler for OKE. And then for the moment, it is just LA and it is near G. So, Karpenter. Karpenter is an open source project managed by Amazon, okay, in order to simplify Kubernetes infrastructure and to be able to scale. And so to create node for Kubernetes very easily. And now it is like a standard, you know. So it is in the CNCF ecosystem, but not a CNCF project for the moment. Kubernetes is a hosted project on CNCF, okay, but not Karpenter. Nevertheless, it is in the ecosystem, okay, of CNCF, and you can see some kind of communication sometimes on the CNCF website for Karpenter. All right. It's LA. It means you can try to test the new Karpenter provider for Oracle Kubernetes Engine, and you will get the LA guide. Okay, so this guide will explain you on how to install the Karpenter provider on OKE. You can follow the documentation, and at the end, you can use Karpenter now in order to autoscale on OKE. Before on OKE, we have the node pool autoscaler, okay? But this new autoscaler is sure a standard and more powerful. On my tenant, I have an OKE cluster created with the official Oracle stack, okay, Terraform stack. So a perfect cluster regarding the prerequisites. And in this cluster, I have a managed node pool in the UI, okay? Just, for example, to be able to run some pod from the system namespace for Kubernetes, and in order to be able to run the pod for Karpenter. Sure, okay? After installing the Karpenter provider, you have to provide two YAML files, okay? So the first YAML file that you can see here is the goal is to create the node pool of Karpenter. Remember, the node pool of Karpenter is different from the managed node pool in OKE, okay? Managed node pool is managed by OKE and so on. Here, we will have a node pool managed by Karpenter. Okay, you can see here that I can create VM automatically. I can put a list of VMs. That's nice. VM E5, E4, E6, and so on. Okay, I can put limits and so on. You can read the documentation with the PDF in order to understand. And the second step is to provide a OCI node class, okay, to be used. And you have to give us some kind of information regarding, for example, the image ID you want to use when you create VM. And you need to provide here, for example, the worker subnet ID and the pod subnet ID. And you need to put two security group of worker subnet and pod subnet. After that, you run the YAML file, okay, and you create the node pool. You create the node pool for the Karpenter, okay. Next step, after everything is okay, Karpenter provider is installed. The node pool, AMD node pool, is created, okay, nice. you can now create pods. And it's very simple. You create pods. You don't have enough resource to create the pod. So you see the pod in the state pending, okay? And then the Karpenter provider and the node pool will create node, okay? Very, very automatically. Okay, nice. At start, remember, looking at start, I had 2 nodes from my node pool managed on OKE. And you can see now that I have a new node that was created by the Karpenter Autoscaler. Okay, because I run here the inflate YAML in order to create 3 pods. At start, only 1 pod was created in the state running, and 2 pods were in the state pending. Then Karpenter came and asked for a creation of a new node. You can see here at start, I just have 2 nodes, and after that, I get the node number 3. Here you can see IMD node pool, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so created automatically by Karpenter. After a certain duration, I got the 2 new pods running on the new node created by Karpenter. So what you can see, it's very, very now easily to scale, okay, up and down with Karpenter on OKE. And that's a nice news, this feature is really, really welcome. Thank you for your attention.